Hi, I am Michelle Henderson, and I am so excited to be here with Kim today, Kim Sorrelle. She has such a wonderful program, and we had such an enlightening conversation. I hope that this conversation helps you open up your heart so that you can find your authentic self and so that you are open to the world and you find the love that you need in your life. Many blessings.
Welcome to the show. I'm so happy you're here. You are going to be so happy you're here. I am Kim Sorrelle. I'm a writer. I'm a speaker. I get to do so many fun things in life. But my favorite thing to do is meet people. I just love people and I love people's stories. We all come from different places, and all of our days that we've lived so far lead us to today. And so I'm always so curious, why are you where you're at today? How did you get here? And so uh, this guest that I have today, you're going to adore. I love her. And I've been so excited about this interview. We're going to talk about a lot of things today and a lot of spiritual things that I think will be pretty interesting for you to hear. So you're going to want to listen to it. So without further ado, Michelle, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so excited to be here today.
Oh, good. I'm so thrilled that you are here. I can't wait to dive in. We're going to start with your story, though. I want to hear about 8-year-old Michelle.
Oh my goodness. I love going that far back because I just adore her of all the things that she went through. We look back and we're going, wow, I came from so innocent and so young, and then life happens. So whenever I was 8 years old, I really felt misunderstood a lot. I had this bright red hair, and in the 70s, bright red hair wasn't really popular. So I was considered different, and I was a swimmer. I was a competitive swimmer. And so I had this pale skin, and my best friend had blonde hair and could tan beautifully. And so my self-esteem really wasn't there. And then to top it off, I was an intuitive and an empath. So I cried a lot. I was a very sensitive child. So when I would come home, I'd go, I don't know why I'm crying, but I'm crying. I'm crying. And my mother would go, here we go again. So, and became very quiet because I felt like one time I did tell a good friend, you know what? I'm feeling things, and I feel energy, and I think I'm feeling other people's feelings. And the look on her face, it's like, do not open that door, Michelle. Do not open that door. And so I just shut down and became very, inside myself.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And so, empath is a word that I've only heard in the last several years. It wasn't a word that I grew up with or whatever. I don't know if it's something people just weren't aware of or it just wasn't widely publicized. But explain empath to my audience.
Well, when you meet somebody that wants to change the world, they're probably an empath. So an empath really feels the feeling of others. That's when they cannot watch violence on TV because they can feel all the violence. So when you know somebody that is just very sweet and just wants, and teachers, educators tend to be empaths. So you're right, we did not talk about it a lot of times. They would just say she's very sensitive. So I think the verbiage has changed a little bit. And so I think there are so many empaths on this world that I know somebody that is sensitive and becomes emotional and a wreck sometimes, up and down. That is an empath.
Yeah, it's so interesting because yeah, sensitive and calling somebody sensitive was kind of a put down. It was sort of a, like, oh my gosh, like sort of like the oh, here she goes again kind of thing, right? Like, what
Exactly.
is wrong with them? Why are they, they're or overly sensitive, too sensitive, you
Yes.
would hear people say, and it's like, well, there's nothing wrong with being sensitive. That's a
Mm-hmm.
good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That means you do care about what other people are feeling and how they're doing. And so sensitive should never have been this negative, but empath and understanding that more, I think is so great. Like my best friend from high school, still my best friend. I adore her. Um, you any commercial you watch with her that's
Mm.
Hallmark, any movie you watch and there's a special moment, any time you bring up somebody she loves, uh, she cries. She cries. So she cries a lot. And I always think, oh, it's so I think it's so sweet that she cries.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's so special that things mean so much to her that it stirs up that much emotion. And so anyway, so here you are, this kid, this crying kid with red hair, pale skin, on a swim team, and intuitive, and being told, don't do that. That's wrong. So just keep it bottled in. So what happened as you went through school? Like, what was high school like for you?
High school was very interesting because my life changed once my mother remarried. We got up and we moved to a whole different city. I left my grandparents behind. So, in a way, it was very traumatizing to me in high school, but I did find myself. It's like when you go through, difficult times, if you can get through it, you can see a different perspective. And I also had to leave my swimming behind. And I became very social. And then I thought, okay, I'm finding myself, I'm going to go against the grain. And I was in trouble. I got got grounded a lot. And it's not like I did anything terrible, but I wasn't following the house rules. So I was a rebel, I would say, in high school. But I also worked full time. Well, not full time, but at part time at not Chick-fil-A, but it was Grandy's, if you remember Grandy's. So I worked there part time after school. I'd go and I'd work. So I was a hard worker.
Yeah, I guess so. So when you were in high school and you're still having feelings, you're still, you're still you.
Right.
It's not like you
Right.
can't be you. What were you thinking, like as far as what your future was going to hold or what you wanted to do with your life?
It's very interesting you say that too, because I began to understand my intuitiveness too. I'd always tell people, I'm going to follow my gut. I just know this is going to happen. So whenever I met my husband, and I knew when I'd get married, I knew when it was time to have a child. And I told the doctor, I said, I'm going to get pregnant in February and have this child, in September, October, whenever. And he's going, like that never happens. And it happened. So I just knew it was going to happen. And whenever I became an educator, I did use that intuitiveness while teaching and while helping parents. I just knew what I needed to do to help these kids.
Wow. Wow. Which that's so cool. It kind of puts you
Yeah.
in a whole different place when because kids can be difficult to understand.
Oh, yes.
And they all
Right.
come from a different home. And so they all have different backgrounds. They all have different baggage at home or happiness at home. The mom's making chocolate chip cookies or the mom's working second shift. I mean, everybody's so different. And I've always wondered how a teacher can teach a classroom of 25, 30 kids
Yeah.
who all are so different and yet know them all by name and get to know them all by their personalities. And I don't know, it just seems like it would be a difficult thing to do.
It,
So
it,
go you,
yeah.
all you teachers, go you. But yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. It was difficult, but it's rewarding at the same time. And it's so interesting because you remember the most difficult students because you know that they had a difficult life, that school was getting away from their house. And that's where the empath comes in, where the caring comes in. And just knowing that they needed somebody to be a role model for them. So it was great. I was really good at really pinpointing the good in people. Where, some teachers go, I'm gonna there's this child that's driving me crazy, and I go, well, why is this child behaving that way? Let's look at that. And so I always loved to see the good in these kids. It was difficult sometimes, disciplining, because sometimes when they really liked you, they wanted to really test you at the same time.
Yeah, kind of like when you get a new babysitter and you just
Yes.
push and push, see how far you can go, right? Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you're teaching and using yourself, the gifts that
Yes.
that you have, and it's
Right.
helping you to be an even better teacher. And then what was the next step for you?
Okay, so yeah, and then so the next step, I burned myself out because I became an educational diagnostician, and so I helped the parents around the IEP table. And again, I was able to use my energy and also my intuitiveness to bring them down, to feel the love that we were there to help them. And then I worked with children with autism as a behaviorist. And I used it again, working with these children because a lot of times when they're children on their spectrum, when they're nonverbal, they start stimming a little bit, is what we call stimming. And I had one little boy that would look off in the distance and he would start laughing. And I go, okay, I know you see somebody, because he's just laughing. And I'm going, okay, it's time to come back over here to the table. Let's let go of your friend. And so I began to realize these kids are teaching me something. That there is love. We have angels surrounding us. We have God around us at all times. And whenever I had a child that was having a meltdown, full meltdown, you could not negotiate with them, you couldn't talk them down. I would use and I would pray and I would do a telepathic thought, it's okay, you're loved, you're safe, and I could see this child just calm down.
Mm,
And so, yes, I learned how to work it, even though I didn't really talk to anybody about it. But then I burned out, and I told my husband, I said, I am being pulled into the spiritual business, into the spiritual world. And this was right before COVID happened. And he said, you need to do it if that's what you're being called to do. And I said, okay. And he is so traditional. And I mean, he may not understand it whenever I talk, very spiritual, but he says, I accept it because I know you need to go through this.
mm. Wow, it's wonderful to have a supportive husband.
Yes. Oh,
Because
absolutely.
you could have it could have been the opposite of that. It could have been your husband going, listen, you just keep teaching, keep
Yes.
doing what you're doing, bring home that paycheck, and because that other stuff, that woo-woo stuff, I'm not into or whatever.
Right.
So it's great that he was so supportive. I love it that you related to the autistic kids like you did. I've got a grandson who's autistic,
Yeah.
and actually I have a son who's autistic,
Yeah.
and it's different. Communication is different with someone on the spectrum than it is with other people. I mean, they
Oh,
just think
yeah.
differently, right?
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so certain words are going to mean something different to them, or um, and what I have found is the same thing. Like when you lead with love,
Hmm.
you can't lose.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
might not understand, like I'd love to be in one of their heads
Oh,
for a
yeah.
day, right?
Right.
Just to
Right.
see how they think. And I always think that would be the coolest thing, like just to see. But uh love is universal
Oh,
with
absolutely.
everybody. And so leading with love puts you in a place where it doesn't matter, nothing else really matters, just love.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that they know, just like any child, they know whenever you are anxious or, when they start having a meltdown, if you become anxious, it just accelerates it. And so you yourself have to calm your energy down. And like you said, send that love to them.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you're saying that about calming your energy down, because we tend to do that. Like I'm speaking for the world here.
It's
I
okay.
probably am not, but I know me personally.
Yes.
When my husband passed away several years ago, but when we were married, we had a great marriage. But there were times when that man, he could just make me angry, and I look back, and so then I would let him know, I
Hmm.
didn't have a problem ever letting him know what he was doing
Right.
wrong. I was
Right.
pretty
Oh,
good
of
at it.
course.
Yeah. And then, he'd defend himself. And then pretty soon, our blood pressures both are rising and, things are out of control. And we forgot what we even started
Right.
talking about to begin with. And pretty soon then it's that thing you did last week. And remember 3 years ago, right? I mean, whatever, you go there, unfortunately. Uh, but what you just said is so true. Like, we don't have to let other people control our emotions. They
No.
really don't control.
No.
We decide if we're going to get angry about the muddy boots
Yes.
or if we're going to just handle it diplomatically.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love that. And so your calming presence brought a calming presence. And
Yes.
and I
Yes.
think that's true of all people everywhere.
Hmm. Oh, I totally agree. And I agree that we are in charge of our emotions because sometimes people don't realize what they're saying to you offends you. Many, many times. And sometimes they're just trying to help you. And you need to really control, well, why am I being what we call triggered? Why is this bothering me? And then when you deep down and you actually look at your childhood, sometimes you start seeing, oh, so you look at it from a different perspective then.
Mhm.
And you
Yeah.
start seeing the other person in a different light.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. It reminds me exactly of I did this year where I figured out the true meaning of love. I dedicated a year to it to just search for
Right.
it because nobody seemed to know the real meaning, or you put 10 people in a room, you get 10 different answers, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And so I took First Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind, does not
Mhm.
envy, does not boast. I took one word or phrase a month and dove in.
Mhm.
And when I got to love keeps no record of wrongs, I thought, oh gosh, I don't want to do this one because you might forgive people, but you don't forget what happens to you. And
Right.
so as I'm working through it and as God is guiding me and hitting me over the head with answers, what I figured out is exactly what you're saying. It's
Mhm.
we control the narrative. We
Yes.
control the narrative.
Yes.
And so the narrative can be these rotten people that did this rotten thing, or the narrative can be, guy, I wonder, why did that trigger me? Why did that upset me? And how sad for them that they're so upset. What can I do to make them happier? Or,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And what I found, I'd love your opinion on, is that you can go back and change the narrative of past stories.
Yes. Yes. Because what you're doing is once you change the emotion in those stories, they change. And it's almost like your mind remembers it differently. And so it's all in the healing too. So when you look at it, and I know, oh my gosh. So there's several different situations where I think through it and I keep, right afterwards I'd say, oh, I should have said this. I should have said that. How would that change things? And so I looked at that narrative and sometimes I'd say, you know what? It happened perfectly. But if there's something that needs to be changed, then I kind of add that little blurb in there, and my mind remembers it that way, and so it changes how you look at it. And if it happens again in the same situation, which we tend to have a lot of lessons repeat themselves, then we'll go, oh, you know what? I've already been there, and I know how to handle it this time.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good. That's so important.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why uh, four kids can grow up in the same household and remember their childhood completely differently from
I
each other?
know. Yes, and turn out completely different. Absolutely. And we all have our own personalities. So God gives, and everybody has to have their personality because we're learning different things. And so, yeah, and I think it's very important. It's almost like when somebody sees a crime, they are seeing different things at different perspectives and seeing it from different eyes. So whenever, a detective comes and they ask you about what you saw, they may have five different stories or characteristics of this person that did the crime. So, yeah, so it's very interesting. And that's why we don't need to get upset with each other because we're just seeing it from a different perspective. And if we accept what the other person sees and go, I didn't even think about that, then it expands your horizon on it as well.
Yeah, man, I love that. I love that. I have I have two brothers, but one of them uh, can't really remember anything good about my mom. And
Oh,
I know
yeah,
my mom was a wonderful mom. She
yeah,
went to everybody's sporting everything. She coached. She did everything for us. And so my recollection totally different than his. Like he has a hard time remembering good things about our
right.
childhood was like the best childhood ever. Like we grew up
Yes,
in this neighborhood with neighbors that you could just walk across the street and you had a friend across the street
yeah,
and playing kickball and whatever and going home when the streetlights came on and so it's so opposite. But yeah, so it's because of just his view,
right,
right? Yeah,
right.
interesting. Yeah,
Absolutely. And
yeah.
and what's difficult is you cannot change his view because that's how he sees it. So you're not going to change. You could just tell him about what you remember, and he may not even remember or go there. So there may be some healing that he has to do with the memories that he has in his childhood and figure out why he feels that way and what he
So
remembers.
yeah, so good, so good. Which brings up another point about my brother.
Yeah.
I'll tell a story and he'll go, "That never happened. That's not true.
Really?
That never
Oh,
happened."
wow.
And I'm
Yes.
like, "Oh, it did. I know it did. I know it did. I was there. I
Yeah.
remember that it was there, but probably just that kind of what you're talking about, right? Like
Right.
looking at it so differently and not even remembering things. Yeah. So
Right.
interesting. So
Right.
for those of us who have siblings that are contrary to us, that remember childhoods completely differently, that's normal. It's
Mm-hmm.
not abnormal, which is refreshing and wonderful to know. And you can't change them, which is
No.
true across the board of all people everywhere under
Oh,
any
absolutely.
circumstance. You can't change anyone. You don't control anyone. You only control yourself. And so trying to change somebody, don't get married thinking you're going to change somebody. Don't become, don't try to change your friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that insight. That's so good. So now you're doing some things that you're just working in the spiritual. And
Oh, yeah.
and so I want to hear about the spiritual. I want to just give me information, what you see and what you know and what we should all know and be aware of.
Right, right. Yeah, the spiritual world is just once I said yes to it, and you think you got your life planned out, you know what you're going to do next. Well, whenever you say yes to the spiritual world, sometimes things change a little bit, and and so that's where the faith comes in. That's where the surrender comes in. Say, okay, I know God isn't going to show me what I need to do next. So, being an empath and everything, and I worked as a psychic medium. And a lot of people tend to kind of fray away from that. But what I really learned is that we all have this intuitiveness. God gives it to you. And so I thought, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to help people. Well, what I found out, and I'll tell you what a psychic and a medium is, just in case. So, a psychic, it's almost like a conversation like we're having now, soul to soul connection. It's almost like when you go to a counselor and she says things and you're going, "How did you know that?" Well, she heard what you said, but a psychic can also go in there spiritually and find out what's really troubling you or maybe answer a question that you have. And of course, this is all done with God's light. And then mediumship is whenever somebody is still in grieving and they need to connect with a loved one, you channel in a loved one's message. But doing this, what really bothered me about it is people were coming to me for answers. And I'm going, you know the answer is inside of you. And so I stopped being a psychic medium because I felt like I wanted to help people heal themselves and know how to heal themselves. And Jesus and I had a great relationship, and I didn't bring this up when I was younger. Anytime I went through the sensitivity, I had him right there beside me. He was like my counselor and my friend, and would hear it, and I felt so much better. But during a very deep, deep meditation, he came in And he said, Michelle, I have Sarah with me, and we want you to write her story for her, and get it. And it's really more about not only her story, but more about the messages that she has. And he said she walked beside me whenever I would do sermons, with the fire. And I said, well, absolutely. How can I say no to that? And but I started realizing how prophets actually probably felt like going, okay, is this real or is this not real? I started questioning myself. And as I am, and so what they call it channeling, and what you do is you just kind of open up, a little radar, and it's automatic writing where I wrote with my left hand, I'm right handed, and I could visualize what she was writing. I could feel what she went through as she told me her story. And some of the things I'm going, okay, this is not what I grew up with, learning about. And so I stopped at one time. I said, I am done. I don't know, Jesus, I don't know if I can continue with that. And I could feel him back off and let me deal with it the way I needed to. And I started thinking, this is her story in her messages. It's not mine. And so I continued. And so, do you want me to go ahead and talk about the main message that she has for everybody?
That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So Jesus, whenever he spoke a lot that aligns with what we call Christ consciousness. And there are three different things that are elements in Christ consciousness. The first one is truth. You need to know who you are inside and out. A lot of people go, well, why am I here on earth? Well, that's when you become a spiritual seeker. You need to find out who you are, not what mom or dad tells you who you are, or a friend or a husband. You need to everybody has to find out on their own who they are. And so this is the truth. This is your foundation. And some people find it in religion, some people find it in spirituality, or they find it in both. And so the second thing is wisdom. Once you find thyself, then the wisdom starts coming in. You start learning things. You're going, oh my gosh, I didn't see that beautiful tree there. I see the different leaves. I see the seeds. I see the flowers. Oh, when did it come there? So you start waking up to the divine, basically. Once you find yourself, because you're feeling really good, you're flowing with what your soul needs, what God gave you, that divine spark. And so you need to learn how to use this knowledge in your daily life. Almost when you learn the scriptures and the Bible, you're going, okay, I've learned this. Now what do I do with this? How do I put this in my daily life? That's what you need to do. You need to really think about how can I help others through what I am learning. So it's only almost like a community service. So with the truth and with the wisdom comes love. Number three, love. And love is the ultimate. Love is the divine. Love is forgiveness. And that is so difficult for a lot of people. Like you said, you can forget a lot of times, but you cannot forgive, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like that. And so once you find that forgiveness, you find out not only are you forgiving the person that really made your life difficult, but you also have to forgive yourself for many, many, many things, for being human. And so that's when you let the divine love in. And that is the ultimate goal that we all have. And so what she was showing me was a triangle. And I didn't even know it, but a triangle is the strongest shape ever. That's why the pyramids are shaped as like a triangle. And so those are the three elements of what she really taught about and she gave us messages for.
Wow. Okay. So the triangle, know yourself,
Well, yeah, truth, know thyself,
truth,
then you
know
have
thyself.
wisdom, and then love.
Wow. Wow. And yeah. And that's so interesting. It's so good because I think it's so easy to lose who you are.
Mhm.
Like I think we're born knowing who we are, you
Oh,
know,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
right? So we're
Yes.
born understanding love. We're born understanding when we're full, we don't keep eating. There's lots of things that we're born with that get reprogrammed as we go through
Yes.
life and get reprogrammed by things we see, things we're told about ourselves, and whatever, outside influences, even inside influences when you compare yourself to somebody else or, whatever happens. And then you get to a place where you wonder who you are anymore. You don't know who that
Right.
person is, who you were created to be. And I believe your purpose is to be 100% exactly who God created you to be.
Hmm.
Don't be anybody else, but be fully, completely you.
Hmm.
And so you got to come to, I think you got to come to a place. I mean, praise the Lord if it's easy for you. Like if it was easy to get to that place for anyone where you're like, I never lost myself, I know myself. And I can tell you, when I had 4 kids in 4 years and my laundry pile was like Mount Everest, I got lost. I mean, because it was doing for everybody else. And anyway, but you get to the point where rediscover, you know, uncover who you really are and be that completely and truly. And so truth, and then being aware, the wisdom, uh that's so good. And you're right, we all have it. And I think it's called different things to different people, but they talk about woman's intuition,
Hmm.
whatever. Well, guess what that is? Guess
Yes.
what? Guess what that is? You hear stories of people waking up at 3 a.m. and then finding out that someone they love was in a car accident at 3 a.m.
Hmm.
And well, how does that happen? There is a spiritual world that's on our side, and just to be aware. So, how do you become more aware uh, after you find truth?
Okay, so find your truth and find your intuitiveness is that you listen. You have to stop, playing the life card. And like you said, we've got all these things to get done. I mean, sometimes it's easier said than done. But what I tell people is don't take your cell phone, don't take your watch, take all electronics away. Go sit down on a picnic bench or in nature and just sit and close your eyes. And a lot of people can, when you say meditation, they're either like going, I can't sit for 5 minutes without any thoughts, and you don't have to. So you just sit on that park bench, close your eyes, listen to the birds, listen to sounds around you. And the more that you listen to that, then you start opening up your mind and your heart. And once your heart opens up, that's when you really can listen. And don't be afraid. A lot of people go, well, I can't do that. Well, when you pray, you are talking to God and you are calming yourself down. And sometimes you can feel the angels around you. That's the same thing. That's the same thing of letting go and feeling what God has for you. If that's a loved one coming in, He's allowing that to happen. That is a loved one coming in, and they are there with you all the time. And it is possible. People go, well, how can they be in heaven and be with you? They can do it. It's possible. Anything is possible through God. I think we sell God short. I think there's so much beauty and so much magic that He has given us that we tend not to use because we get busy in life and put it on the back burner. But you
Mm.
need to put yourself first. It's almost like the mask on the airplane. You need to take care of yourself, and that is taking care of your divine spark.
Wow. Wow, that's so good. Yeah, the whole listening element is
Yes.
absolutely true. And
Yes.
I think as women, we've been taught over the years that, self-care, whatever, take care of yourself first is selfish.
Right.
And what I've come to find out is the opposite is true. The most selfless thing you can do is love yourself, take care of yourself. It's so much easier and so much fuller to then love and take care of others when you first love and take care of yourself. And so it's a selfless rather than a selfish thing.
Right.
And and yeah, so to come to that point. So and just listen. One thing that I do is I take paper and pencil
Yes, yes. And that's a yes. And that's when, once you start listing, definitely write it down, because that's when it flows. And people go, well, I don't want to keep a diary. It's like, but you're opening yourself up to yourself. And sometimes when you write something and read a year later, you're going, oh, I was in a different place back then.
Mm.
I also want to add like what you were saying, when you take care of yourself, you are taking care of others because, we are all a collective. Once you heal yourself, you're healing other people as well.
Interesting.
Yes.
Expand on that a bit.
Okay, so and God speaks about this that we are all one. We're and I always love to explain that we're like raindrops. Okay, we're each coming down separately, but we're all one. We're learning different things, and then we end up in like a pool or a lake or whatever, and the lake is all together as water, and so that's the collective. So once I heal myself and I feel good and my energy is just radiating. It's like joy. And I go to the grocery store and there's this lady walking down and she's, like not real happy. I may change her through my energy. I may give her some joy for a second. And she may not know where it came from, but she may get that little water drop and say, I want some of that. So you are definitely, once you heal yourself, then it's almost like a domino effect. You're healing others as well.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. And what an incredible experience to bring somebody up
Yes.
when they're down, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And everything is energy. I mean, we're it's all
Yeah.
about energy and
Right.
the exchange of energy. So when you're exchanging love and joy, when you're putting that out there, people around you can't help but take it. Like if you think about who are you drawn to? If you're in a crowd of people, wherever it is, work, home, wherever it is that you happen to be, but you're in a group of people, who are you drawn to?
Yes.
Well, you're drawn to the people who are living love, who are full of joy. You're not necessarily drawn to the people that are angry and upset.
Oh,
You might want to
right.
get away from
Absolutely.
those people,
Yeah.
but you are drawn to people that are living love.
And I think that being an empath too, you can feel when somebody's angry. And I think a lot of times we learn how to protect ourselves and we shut down many, many times because the anger comes out. But once we start protecting ourselves and you can actually say a prayer and intention of a protection of angels coming and protecting you from other people's energy so that you can allow your own energy to change that darkness into light if they're accepting. They have to accept it first.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah, so pray that prayer, and
Mm.
because God is cool, and what you said a minute ago. God is just so much bigger than we realize. There's just so much more than is been taught, than we see with our eyes. And to know that God is just that cool, and God
Right.
is big and so much bigger, and to be open is such an incredible thing. And as a child, you were open. So working with
Yes.
kids, you've done some things, right?
Yes. And somebody, whenever it's so interesting, I was talking to somebody and he goes, you know what? When you were working with children, you were healing yourself. And I had never thought about that. And I went, different perspective. And so I thought, you are right. So whenever I was working with the kids and healing, I was wanted to be treated that way.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, yeah. So you have a couple stories. What's, something that happened that is just ingrained in your spirit because it was such a special moment.
You mean working with children or?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
okay.
in life in general,
Oh,
but
life.
yeah,
Well, it just,
whatever.
yeah, so it's
Working
very
with kids.
interesting. Once I started finding myself, knowing myself, I was starting to peel back the mask, one step by step. And things started happening and I was going, wow, this is pretty cool. But at the same time, I was kind of getting confused. I was getting lost because what was happening is I was having to let go a lot of things that I had learned in the past to where I am now in the present, to let that divine knowledge come through and say, yes, other things are possible. Not everybody told me, everything is just like very logical and set in stone. And if you don't do it this way, things are not going to happen. You're not going to be in a happy place when you die. And I'm going, oh, no, I don't want that. So I really had to let a go of a lot of that and trust. And it's so difficult to do. And I actually went to, I don't bring the, remember, I only drink wine at the most, but I went to a retreat that my spiritual teacher that I really trusted did plant medicine. And so I thought, okay, this is something new. I'm old. I don't know, but I was being pulled to it. And so we did a plant journey, and it was like I let go. Well, at first, I wasn't letting go, but I felt safe. And I finally let that trust issue that I had and the barrier that I had tied to me about my um, things that I believed in the past let go. And I learned so much about myself that night. The plant medicine was kind of like my guide. And the vision that this plant medicine showed me was incredible. But I did have to let go of a lot of anger, a lot of fear that I did not know I had. It was hiding. And so just to let people know, not plant medicine is not for everybody. There are other ways you can, find yourself. But that was the way that tipped it over. And after that, it's like I'm not the same person as I was before. I took the red pill and woke up spiritually. And I'm thinking, oh, I feel so much lighter. And I just felt so much love from that plant medicine.
That's so interesting. It's um almost like a near-death experience.
And it exactly right, because my first time whenever I did the plant journey, okay, it took several hours because I was having to really heal and the plant medicine was really taking its time and just being a grandmother, I guess you could say. And at the very end, I knew it was done because I was actually in the cosmic ethereals. It's kind of hard to explain. And I felt like I was being pulled back into my body. And as I saw this baby in a womb, and I knew that was me. So it's almost like I was being born once again, and that I would have a whole new, different perspective. And that was an incredible experience. It's like dying and coming back a whole different person.
Wow, that's so incredible.
Yeah.
I have friends, I know people who have had experiences with plant medicine, and I have this one friend who he's told me that every time he does it, there's a miracle. Every
Yes.
time there's a
Yes.
miracle.
Yes. And I totally agree. And I'm in this program. It's Psychic Shamanistas. And there's a group of us that are meeting to really learn how to work with the energy to help others heal and be a shaman, but I'm not for sure which way I'm going to go with this quite yet. And each time I go under, it's almost like ancient knowledge is showing me. And people, I've been asked this, well, were you hallucinating or was it actually the plant medicine? Or was it, and I'm going, oh no, it's a plant medicine that's helping you open up and connect in with the divine. And so that you accept it. And there again, there's that knowledge that's coming in and how do you use it in your everyday life. But no, everybody visualizes something different because that is what they need at that time. And so I'm only given what I need, and they're given what they need. And we kind of come together and we're going, oh, this is just so cool. So it's because some people can do this, but I'm not able to get my energy so that I can connect in. to the higher realms. And that's what the plant medicine helps you with, if you, that is your intention. Intention is the most important. What do you need at that time? And, and I say my prayers and I do protection and all that before, I um, take plant medicine. But a lot of people say it changes their life if they were suicidal. I had a nephew that said, when I took it, I was no longer suicidal. He said it was like doing therapy, 10 years of therapy in one weekend. And I got to see the difference. And you could see he looked much lighter, his energy was much lighter. So you just never know.
Yeah, yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I know people who are afraid of it,
Yeah.
or wonder, is it hallucinating? Is it
Yes.
just, something you're making up, or whatever? But there are times, there are things that put you in a different place.
Yes.
Right? Like, even going out into nature with paper and pencil and just
Mm-hmm.
listening to the birds, and it puts you into a different place. Or I think about, you're driving down the expressway and all of a sudden you're at exit 43, and last you knew you were at exit 72, and you're like, how did I get here? Like,
Yes.
whatever. Well, your mind, obviously,
Yeah.
you were in a different place. You weren't there. We have those times that things like that happen, and this is just an expansion of that.
Yes. Absolutely. And I totally agree. And if you're afraid of it, then it's not for you at this time. When it's calling you, it's almost like a spiritual, whenever I was being called into the spiritual, to work in the business spiritually, it's the same thing. You're being called to it. And when I told my husband at first, he's going, "You're going to do what?" But you know what? He doesn't question anymore. I think he actually sees the difference in me. And so he's not question. He goes, I don't understand it. It's perfect. It's fine. And so, yeah, and my kids know and they accept it. They're going, you go, mom, you go. And what you really have to, whenever you sign up for plant medicine, you got to look at the intention, because there are some people that go, oh, I just want to take it for the high, but that's not the purpose of it. The purpose of is, how is it going to change your life, and what information are you going to receive?
Mm,
So, and if you want to see something dark, it will show you something dark. If you want to see something light and see your guides or the angels, they will show you that as well. So it just depends on where you are in life. And if you are shown something that is very dark, then it's saying you need to heal that aspect of you.
mm. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. So
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So in working with kids, what is that like? The work that you've done, the spiritual work that you've done with children.
Right. Okay. So whenever I do, I mainly work with the parents. It's almost like an education. So whenever, they come to me, I talk with the parents. I rarely meet with the child, especially if they're younger. And usually it's they only meet one time and then they're going, okay, we're good. but but it's very interesting. So the younger they are, the most questions I have, the same questions: is this evil? Should we wish it away? They're afraid, and because that's what they've been taught, and their background. And I said, well, okay, let me look into this. I said, is your child afraid? No, they're really excited whenever grandmother comes to visit. And because, they want to protect their child. So I walk it through them, and sometimes I connect in with whoever's coming to visit the child and say, oh no, and so I give them some ideas, but I say, first of all, listen to your child, let them draw it or talk about it, but do not show them that you're afraid, because that's when they become afraid of it. And there's nothing to be afraid. And I talk about cleansing the room if they're being bothered at night, because children are when they're trying to sleep. I said, you can cleanse the room and tell their friends it is not time for them to play right now. Now, middle school, been able to talk to, but they're very quiet and reserved. So I know what I need to say to them to help them move on to the next level, and they're fine with that. But they mainly have a lot of anxiety because they're trying to find themselves, and then this is happening, the sensitivity. And so I help them feel better about it and give them some things that they can do.
Mm. Yeah, that's so good because it would be so confusing as a kid
Mhm.
if you are I have a friend who had a friend
Yeah,
who lived in the closet and
yeah,
he saw him
yeah.
and talked to him and knew he was there and whatever and but then one day he was gone and he didn't know whether to be afraid or whether to embrace, but it was always happy. There was never anything negative about it.
Right,
And when
right.
he talks about it as an adult, he's like, what was wrong with me? That I had, this imaginary friend, he calls it an imaginary friend, right?
Yes. Oh,
But what
yes,
was wrong with
absolutely.
me that it was
Right.
so vivid and so real? And it's like nothing was wrong with you. Things were right with you, like that's a gift. I mean, that would a
That's what that's what I
right?
was about to say. It's a gift as well that they're showing, that they're being able to see them. That is a gift because that is so difficult for a spirit to actually manifest into something that they can see. So first of all, it's a gift, and whether he realized it or not, his soul is allowing it to happen because he's got that intuitiveness. And children do start losing it at the age of 7 because
Mm,
society starts happening.
mm. Isn't that funny?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So your recommendation to parents who are their kids are talking about imaginary friends or talking about what I mean, what would a parent notice in a kid?
Oh, exactly what you're saying. That
Yeah.
when they'll come to him and say, "Oh my gosh, there was this, lady that was coming to me in my room and telling me all about you, as you grew up." So little things like that. But many times they do have an imaginary friend, and it's so fun when they do. And just ask them, "Well, what does your imaginary friend look like?" And then a lot of times they'll talk to plants. They'll talk to animals because they can feel the energy. And there's just so much more. Yeah, oh, and crystals. They'll want a crystal as well. So tapping into this energy. But I always tell the parents that it depends on what they have learned in their background. If they're a religion that they don't want anything to do with us, it's okay for them to do that because that's the parents. So I just tell them, well, don't make your child feel terrible or afraid of it. Just say at this time, we don't want you to play with this imaginary friend until you get a little bit older. So you have to look at different aspects of whenever you're telling them how to handle certain things. Because, if you have a dad that says absolutely not, then you can't go against what the parent says. And because I've had a mom before come to me and she said, my husband won't have anything to do with it. I said, your child will find it whenever the time is right. So it's not like you're taking it away from your child. Just don't make it feel evil or anything. So, there's different ways that you have to handle it.
Yeah, interesting. So interesting. Yes. And as a mom and a grandma, and do your kids ever go, holy cow, I hope she's not seeing something about me going on right now?
Oh no, my daughter. Well, actually, it was my son-in-law. He goes, "All right, I think our daughter's going to be just like you because she is talking to things that are not there." I'm going, "All right, great," and he's going, and of course he jokes all the time, but he's very accepting of it. I said, well, just let her do it. I said, just let her do it's and they know there's nothing to be afraid of because my daughter also has a little intuitiveness, even though she doesn't use it, like a psychic medium or anything. She uses it probably in her job, but they're allowing it to happen. They're not afraid of it. And then my grandson, who just turned a year, his energy just feels like he is a wise one. Like he's going to teach us so much.
Wow.
once he can start talking.
Ah, right, right. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. Oh, this has been such a fun conversation. How can people get in touch with you?
Okay, so right now, and I am in between services. I'm almost being reset for what I'm going to offer, but I do have a website that they can find me, and it's at www.themichellehenderson.com. And you can email me there. You can subscribe and keep up with what I'm doing because things will probably start change. I'll start offering services next year.
Mm, yeah, well, very good. And yeah, people should reach out because you're amazing.
Oh,
And
well, thank you.
yeah, so if you had one word of wisdom that maybe you received from somebody else that you hang on to, or something that some gold you want to deliver, what would that be?
Authentic. I know I want to say be authentic, but authentic. Because when you're being authentic, you're loving yourself.
Mm, and then thus living your purpose, right?
Yes,
Because it's
absolutely.
the real you. Yeah. This
Yes.
has been great. Thank you
Well,
so
thank
much.
you. I
Yeah, yeah, I
appreciate
so
it.
appreciate you. Yeah, yeah, this has been fun. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Okay, that sounds great. That sounds
Okay.
great.
All right.
So,
Okay. Yeah. So thank you. And thank you for joining us today. Pass this on to people that you know would enjoy it, and be open. You know, it can be so easy to be cynical and go, gosh, this isn't, that it's not real. But everybody's real is their real. And so it's okay to be open and let people be who they are created to be. And so I say to you, my prayer for you is till we meet again, that you keep your heart open and you live your love loud.